Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. Man, if you're a Miami Dolphins fan right now, it's starting to feel like every week there's another gut punch. This team has been on a roller coaster, some electric highs, some ugly lows. And this week against the Atlanta Falcons, the news hit hard once again. Yeah, the Dolphins walked away with a convincing 34-10 victory. One of those games where the scoreboard looked clean, the offense looked crisp, and the defense finally flexed some muscle. But the final whistle didn't come without pain. Cornerback Storm Duck, one of the most promising defensive stories of the early season, is now officially out for the year. And while quarterback Tua Tagovailoa had people buzzing over a weird eye situation that forced him to wear a visor, head coach Mike McDaniel insists that's no big deal. So, the Dolphins win big, but they lose another soldier in the war of attrition that is an NFL season. And the timing couldn't be worse, with the Baltimore Ravens waiting on Thursday night, just a few days away. Let's start with the Tua story, because of course, whenever there's even a flicker of concern around Miami's franchise quarterback, the conversation explodes. Early Sunday morning, Tua woke up with his left eye swollen. Nobody really knew why, and the mystery kind of added to the weirdness of it all. But by game time, he was suited up, rocking a tinted visor, and according to his teammates, looking swaggy. That's Tua for you, turning something awkward into a fashion statement. He led Miami's offense like nothing happened, slicing through Atlanta's secondary and keeping things smooth. After the game, he even joked that he might keep wearing the visor, not because of the swelling, but because his teammates liked the look. And honestly, if you saw him out there, you'd agree, it added a little extra flair to that aqua and orange uniform. Head coach Mike McDaniel, always quick with humor and perspective, brushed off the Tua eye issue like it was just a mosquito bite. It was a blip on my radar, he told reporters. I guess it was an eye issue, I'd call it. What does that mean? He's got a built-in Halloween costume. Classic McDaniel, cool, relaxed, totally unbothered by the kind of thing that would send other coaches into panic mode. He even added, he'll throw with his left hand, I know that much. That's the vibe in Miami right now. Confidence bordering on comedy, even when chaos seems to be lurking around every corner. But while the Tua situation turned into a laugh, Storm Duck's injury hit like a punch to the gut. Late in the fourth quarter, while covering Atlanta wide receiver Kaderil Hodge, Duck's right knee just gave out. There wasn't even a dramatic collision. No helmet-to-helmet or nasty tackle. Just one of those non-contact moments that every player dreads. The cart came out, and even before McDaniel said it publicly, you could feel it in the air. This one was bad. On Monday, McDaniel confirmed what everyone feared. Storm Duck is done for the season. Just like that, the year ends for a young player who had battled through adversity to even get back on the field. And man, it's tough not to feel for Duck. This was supposed to be his breakout year. He flashed all through training camp, turned heads in preseason, and even earned a starting spot in Week 1 against the Colts. But fate didn't play nice. An ankle injury in that opener sidelined him for 6 long weeks. Rehab, recovery, doubt, it's a lonely grind. And finally, when he makes his return, trying to rebuild that rhythm, his knee betrays him. The heartbreak of football in a single moment. It's not just a roster move. It's the end of a dream, at least for this season. For Duck, that's 2 major injuries in just a handful of games. And for the Dolphins, it's yet another blow to a defense that's already been juggling bodies all year long. So what now? McDaniel mentioned that if they decide to replace Duck internally, they've got a couple of practice squad corners ready to go, Isaiah Johnson or Kendall Sheffield. Sheffield's already been elevated the last 2 games, so he might be the next man up. But that's not a comfortable spot for Miami. The secondary has been thin all year, and now, heading into a primetime showdown with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' explosive offense, they're going to need all the depth they can get. The Ravens don't just test your corners, they expose them. Without Duck, the Dolphins' defensive game plan just got a whole lot trickier. The hits didn't stop there, though. Safety Minkah Fitzpatrick banged up his thumb late in the fourth quarter, but McDaniel downplayed that too, saying Fitzpatrick could have returned if the game weren't already decided. That's good news, at least. You need that kind of veteran presence in the back end, especially with Duck gone. But the other safety, Ashton Davis, isn't so lucky. He tweaked his quad on special teams early in the game, just the first drive, covering a punt, and didn't come back. McDaniel said he's day-to-day, which is coach speak for don't expect him Thursday. It's a short week, and quads don't heal overnight. Add wide receiver D. Eskridge to that same day-to-day list after he dinged his shoulder. And suddenly, that Thursday night matchup against Baltimore looks a little more dangerous. Short rest, banged-up roster, and facing one of the most physical teams in the league. It's not exactly a recipe for comfort. McDaniel's press conference on Monday felt less like a victory lap and more like a triage report. The Dolphins are 5-3 now, feeling good in the standings, but you can sense the toll building up. Then there's the lingering issue of the guys on injured reserve. McDaniel didn't have much to update there, and honestly, nobody expected miracles on a short week. Still, it's discouraging. Kicker Jason Sanders remains out, and that's already forced the Dolphins to juggle special teams personnel. But the real pain lies in the offensive line room. James Daniels, Austin Jackson, Andrew Meyer, Liam Eichenberg, all still sidelined. No timetable for return. That's 4 linemen, gone, and it's a miracle Tua hasn't been sacked into the turf more often. Daniels and Jackson went down in the season opener, same game that wrecked Duck's ankle. Meyer and Eichenberg haven't even taken a snap this year. It's a battered, bruised front line that's somehow holding together, but for how long? The irony in all this is that the Dolphins, statistically, are still one of the most efficient teams in the AFC. Their offense hums when it's clicking, Tua's accuracy remains elite, and Tyreek Hill continues to terrify defenses every single week. But there's this shadow hanging over the team, a sense that the injuries are stacking too fast, too early. The AFC race is tight, and while fans are loving the swagger, they're also biting their nails. How long can a team keep losing key players before the cracks show? McDaniel's demeanor helps, no doubt. He refuses to let panic creep in. When he jokes about Tua's eye being a built-in Halloween costume, that's more than just a punchline. It's a statement of control. He's saying, we've got this, one step at a time. And maybe that's the secret sauce. His locker room buys into that calm, and it's why even after losing yet another starter, they're still walking tall. But let's be real, Storm Duck's loss hurts, no matter how cool the coach stays. The kid was special. He brought energy, physicality, and a little swagger to that defense. Now the Dolphins will have to find that spark somewhere else. Fans on social media are already speculating about whether the front office will look outside for help. There are veteran corners floating around the free agent pool, guys with experience who could fill the gap for the second half of the season. But signing someone mid-season, teaching them the system, and expecting them to perform right away? That's easier said than done. The Dolphins are in that awkward spot between staying patient and pushing the panic button. And the next 2 games, Baltimore and then Kansas City, aren't exactly soft landings. Still, there's something resilient about this Miami team. Every time a player goes down, another steps up. Every time an obstacle appears, McDaniel finds a way to make it part of the story instead of the ending. Maybe that's what makes this version of the Dolphins so fascinating. They're not just playing football, they're surviving it. And as long as Tua's out there slinging the ball, visor or no visor, fans can believe. But as Monday's news made clear, the path forward just got a little steeper. The Dolphins are learning the hard way that success in the NFL isn't just about talent, it's about endurance. And right now, they're being tested like never before. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Alright, so let's talk about what's been buzzing louder than a Miami nightclub at 3 in the morning. And yeah, you probably already know where this is going. The whispers, the tweets, the locker room side-eyes, all pointing in one direction. Tua Tagovailoa might be done with the Miami Dolphins. Now, I'm not saying this is official. No one's dropped the bomb yet. But there's enough smoke out there to make anyone wonder if there isn't a full-blown fire hiding underneath. And let me tell you, for a quarterback who was once seen as the face of the franchise, that's a pretty wild twist in the storyline. It started small, like these things always do. A few subtle comments here, some cryptic social media posts there, and suddenly fans are playing detective on X and Reddit like it's a true crime podcast. But behind all that noise, there's a real conversation happening inside NFL circles. Tua's future in Miami might be hanging by a thread. You can almost feel the tension building between him and the Dolphins front office, like 2 people in a long-term relationship pretending everything's fine while secretly thinking about who they'll date next. Let's rewind a little bit, because to really understand what's going on, you have to look at the story of Tua and Miami from the beginning. When the Dolphins drafted him back in 2020, he was supposed to be the savior, the guy who would finally bring the franchise out of quarterback purgatory. He had that college pedigree, that calm poise, that lefty delivery that reminded some old-school fans of Steve Young. But almost immediately, the road got bumpy. Injuries, inconsistency, questions about his arm strength. It felt like every game was a referendum on whether he was the real deal or not. Then came 2022, and things started to click. The arrival of Mike McDaniel as head coach gave Tua a system that actually fit him, and pairing him with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle turned that Miami offense into a highlight reel waiting to happen. Suddenly, Tua was putting up numbers that made everyone shut up. He looked confident, accurate, dangerous. He was leading the league in passer rating at one point, slinging deep balls like it was nothing, and for a hot minute, it looked like all the critics had to eat their words. The Dolphins were relevant again, and Tua was the reason why. But football, as we all know, doesn't stay a fairy tale for long. The concussions hit, literally, and they changed everything. That image of Tua lying on the turf, hands frozen, shook not just the fans but the league itself. The conversations around his health, his future, and whether he should even keep playing reached a fever pitch. Miami had to walk a tightrope between protecting their player and keeping their season alive. And though Tua came back and fought through it, that question of durability has never really gone away. It's the ghost that keeps haunting him, no matter how many touchdowns he throws. Fast forward to this season, and things just feel off. The chemistry that once looked so effortless between Tua and McDaniel seems strained. Reporters have noticed it, players have hinted at it, and even though everyone's saying the right things in front of the cameras, the vibe feels different. You know that kind of energy when someone's just going through the motions? That's what this looks like. The offense still puts up points, sure, but the sparkle's fading. There are moments where Tua seems hesitant, moments where he looks like a guy second-guessing not just his throws, but his place in the bigger picture. And here's where the rumor mill really starts spinning. Contract talks. Tua's rookie deal is winding down, and while the Dolphins have technically picked up his fifth-year option, they haven't committed long-term. That's the kind of hesitation that speaks volumes in this league. Because when a franchise truly believes in its quarterback, they don't wait, they lock him up. Just look at what the Chargers did with Justin Herbert, or the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. When you know, you know. Miami, on the other hand, seems to be playing it cautious, and Tua's camp can feel that. Word is, he's not too thrilled about it either. Behind the scenes, you can almost picture the quiet tug-of-war happening between Tua's people and the Dolphins' decision-makers. Miami wants to see more, to be sure they're investing in the right guy. Tua wants the respect that comes with being the guy. And when that kind of standoff drags on too long, resentment starts to build. You start hearing things like Tua's exploring his options, or he's open to a fresh start. Maybe it's posturing, maybe it's leverage. Or maybe, just maybe, he really is ready to walk away. The funny thing is, this isn't just about football anymore. It's about identity, about legacy. Tua's been fighting uphill battles since the day he entered the league. First it was proving he was healthy enough to play, then proving he was good enough to lead, and now it's about proving he deserves to be valued like a franchise cornerstone. And if he feels like the Dolphins aren't seeing that, why wouldn't he look elsewhere? There are plenty of teams out there that would jump at the chance to build around a quarterback with his skill set. Teams that might offer him a new environment, new energy, and maybe a little more belief. Think about it. The Falcons, the Raiders, even the Vikings. All teams in quarterback limbo that could make a serious play if Tua hits the market. And imagine the drama if he ended up in a system that truly unleashed him, away from the constant pressure of living up to Miami's expectations. That's the kind of story that writes itself, the redemption arc everyone would want to watch unfold. But from Miami's perspective, it's a nightmare. Losing Tua would mean hitting the reset button again, diving back into the quarterback carousel that's haunted them for 2 decades. It would mean admitting that the big plan, the rebuild, the trades, the coaching hires, didn't end with a championship window, but another question mark. And fans? They'd be divided. Half would blame Tua for not delivering, the other half would blame the team for not supporting him enough. Either way, it's chaos. What's wild is how quiet everyone's being about it. Usually, when things are fine, people say so. When they're not, You get silence, awkward press conferences, and phrases like, "We're focused on the next game." That's exactly what's happening now. McDaniel keeps dodging direct questions. Tua's interviews are all business, and you can tell something's brewing beneath the surface. And then there's Tyreek Hill. You can't ignore him in this conversation. Tyreek's always been vocal, and if there's even a hint that Tua might be on his way out, you know he's going to have thoughts. The chemistry between those two has been electric, and losing that connection could completely reshape the Dolphins' offense. It's not just about one player leaving. It's about the ripple effect it would create across the entire team. So here we are, standing in the middle of the storm before the storm, waiting to see what breaks first, the relationship or the rumors. Maybe they'll patch things up. Maybe the Dolphins will finally give Tua the contract he deserves, and this whole saga will fade into just another off-season storyline. But if not, if this really is the beginning of the end, then we're looking at one of the biggest shakeups in recent NFL memory. Because love him or hate him, Tua Tagovailoa changed the Dolphins. He gave them an identity again, gave the fans hope, and made Miami football fun to watch. If he walks away, it won't just be the end of a chapter, it'll be the end of an era. And deep down, you get the sense that both sides know it. The only question now is whether either of them still has the will to fight for what they built together, or if it's already too late. Whatever happens next, this story isn't just about contracts and stats. It's about pride, loyalty, and the fragile line between being wanted and being tolerated. And if the noise around Tua leaving Miami keeps growing the way it has, don't be surprised if the next time you see him, he's wearing a different shade of blue. Because in the NFL, when the whispers get this loud, it usually means someone's already packing their bags. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.